Hello everyone, welcome back. I'm Jacob Silverblade, and today I'm joined by Jay.
Hello.
Hello. Right, and we're going to be discussing a particular topic as it has, turned up in the meta report. We've got Primus Safriiana and her percentage win rate. She's got a 64% win rate in Legendary Division. That's extremely high, and I can tell you right now that if you're one of the better players, I'm sure it's even higher than that.
Your fate is sealed.
Primus Safriiana is very, very strong, and I've always had a problem with particularly that warlord over the other ones. And I'm gonna read out a general statement in why I think this is particularly the case, and then we'll go into a bit of a discussion with Jay afterwards, saying, just talking about it, because I actually do have a particular, not with the GSC faction, believe it or not, I don't have a problem with the GSC faction, but just the particularly Primus Safriiana, and how, well, I'll get into my statement in a moment. Anyway, so, my main problem with Primus Safriiana, hero power is really, really good, and it enables you to get the right stuff majority of the time. You're always able to get, whether you're going for a combo, tempo, or generic value play, you're able to get the stuff you need when you want it. Because of that, it means that combo plays like which are game winning, a game ending, are pretty much going to happen. It means that if you need the best tempo play, you're going to get it. If you need the best value sort of play, stuff for value sort of play, so you can get into the late game, you're going to be able to get the cards you need, to be able to play the best value at the times you need it. End result is that if there is a game-winning combo, she can virtually guarantee it. I'm talking about like 90% of the time. If there is just the best tempo play, it's, she majority of the time she's able to get it. If she's the best value play, it makes it very difficult to use a different warlord which has generic value play, when you can just have the best value and just have the guaranteed cards for it. End result is that there's only really one way, in my personal opinion, to truly stop like a combo Safa, and that is mostly going to be aggro. It is an aggro sort of style, because of her combo ability, because of her enabling so much great combo capability. So everything ends up being an aggro sort of deck, and it shuts out many sort of control / mid-range decks being able to give a chance to able to play against Primus Safriiana. And then I feel like, which is probably more of a bigger problem, is that she shuts out many other warlords which could exist within the GSC faction, because of her ability being so strong compared to the rest. I feel like the only other warlord with a legitimate standing is Icon Ward Malek, and that's just because Icon Ward does aggro and does trade up pure aggro. Whereas if you wanted to go for sabotage, which is I see as value sort of play, you might as well have the cards that you need to be able to go for good sabotage plays, in which case you just play Primus Safriiana instead of like Scenari, I think it's called. So there ends up becoming no point with that. If you want to go for a generic tempo play with like Magus, for example, it's no real point. You might as well just go draw for the best troops which you want at a time, guarantee having the best troops in your deck, instead of actually playing Magus for the best value. End result is that, particularly the combo plays, because they are game winning and we want to have game winning abilities, sort of combos, I don't think we can have such a consistent warlord. I don't mind game winning, but you can't have game winning and then also guaranteed enabler for game winner. The game winner has to be inconsistent. And so hence the end result is that I just think Primus Safriiana's ability is too strong for the GSC faction as a whole. I think it enables too much stuff to go on, and it makes many other warlords, not just from other armies, but also within our own faction, redundant. So that is my general statement. anything that you would go along and just disagree with what I said, Jay, here?
I don't think she's 90% consistent. You mentioned 90% earlier. I don't think it's that. When I think of like Safa's talent, and she does reliably, she's able to rip troops or stratagems from her list. I don't think it's 90% consistent. Maybe if you are playing like the vehicles Safa list that runs only 2 copies of Roaming Outriders and maybe Perfect Ambush as their stratagems, you could reliably pull those out of your deck that consistently. But I think on average, because let's be honest, the main problem here is GSC Uprising combo, correct? It's very oppressive when it plays out on like 8 or 9E, and it's like, okay, well, you've beaten my first wave of Icon Metamorph, and now I'm just going to slam a second wave and do it all over again. It's hard to play against that list because it does put you on a clock. You are on an 8 or sometimes 9 turn clock where you have to find a way to end the game. She is going to overpower you with a board state that's near unwinnable. I feel like 90% is really high. I think when I look at Safa and the rate that she rips troops from her deck, you can get bad draws. I've played enough of it to where it's happened to me. I think it's probably more comparable to Ursula, where you're on your 6 or 7 turns when you're looking for those extra armored lightnings or something like that. You're going to find that 66%, that 70% consistency. There is an element of RNG, but I don't believe it's 90% high. Right. I think it's a little bit more valuable than. I think it's a little bit more flawed than 90%.
So of course, I don't think I mentioned this at the beginning. We have seen the win rates for Primus Safriiana. We know it's really high, but I'm not talking about a win rate sort of philosophy here. I should have mentioned that at the beginning. I'm not saying, it's not just purely on a too powerful status. I'm saying sort of good for the game, well designed, sort of point of view. That's I should have prefaced at the beginning. Sorry, I missed it. The point with
Go ahead. I was going to say, do you think combo's healthy for the game? That's I think generally where I would start with this. Do you think the combo aspect of Safa is a healthy aspect for the game? Because that's what she enables. One of the very few factions that does so.
Yeah, so my point of view is that combos are a good thing for the game. If there's no combos whatsoever, that would be a detriment to the game. So combos do need to exist. But there are 2 things with combos which need to exist. Either combos need to exist and are not game winning, in which case they can be very consistent, or they need to exist, but then they need to be where they can be game winning. But if they are game winning, they need to be not consistent, or there needs to be ways that at least opponents can make it not have counterplay into it. So not game winning, which I feel like it makes it not game winning anyway if it has counterplay. So hence if it is just a straight up win you the game on the spot, the combo, it needs to be not consistent. There needs to be like a lot of effort, or it needs to be such, so late in the game, like 15 energy combo, that like, right, okay, fine, you've managed to make it to 15 energy, that's where I feel like.
Do you feel like Icon Metamorph Leader and just like Safa enables combos to happen too soon because she tutors cards? Because I mean, you can get high rolls with Dark Angels or any other list where, yeah, they'll pull 3 secrets in a row on 70 and you've pretty much lost the game by that point. That's rather inconsistent, and that's a rather inconsistent combo, but it does happen.
It's happened to me. Yeah. That is exact example. I'm not saying it hasn't happened, but it is extremely, extremely rare. Yeah. It's for them to be able to get the 3 secrets that they've literally just generated and use all of them in a single turn combined with. I mean, it has happened to me where I've had that, and they were using teleport units, and guess what? Every single teleport unit came down, and they all triggered.
You have 15 power 30 power on the board.
And I was just doing some ridiculous stuff myself, and I looked at the board and I kind of went, what on earth? How did I lose this? But that is very inconsistent.
Yeah, it is extremely inconsistent. I like Safa because she enables a different playstyle for GSC, where Icon Ward Malik is your kind of aggro beatdown. I can tempo you out with Nexus or something like that. Malik may not have a home, and Laska's kind of unprepared for the sabotage game plan. I think that she focuses extremely well on what she's doing, and I think it's within the realm of being okay. Her pick rate is not absurd. It's at 3% from the meta report, compared to Gilliman's almost 9%, which is a ton. So yeah. I really feel like if there was more of it, I might have more of an issue. The fact that it's so minor, because the deck is not easy to play. It takes a lot of in-game knowledge. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's not easy to play. A lot of room for player error.
I don't disagree, because I am taking this from a perspective that a guy who doesn't actually play GSC but has faced it many other time. And I completely recognize it's not easy to play at all. But it just does feel like if you are, I don't want to. Thing is, if you're a bad player, probably not. But if I don't think you need to be a good player to get the combo off on 6, 7, 8 energy consistently.
Yes and no. You need in-depth knowledge of the game you are playing. So, for example, a lot of times Safa has the game plan of, I will cast some sabotage cards to disrupt your early games, and I will kind of try to delay your power turns for that faction, and then play into my game plan. If you are just burning sabotage cards randomly, casting your clandestine operations, blasting your Biophagus for no reason, if you don't know what turns you are supposed to be disrupting, for example, in IG specifically, your power turns are 3 and 6 and 7. The reason why is because a lot of times you can either cast Minka into turn 4 Griff, which is a turn you definitely want to disrupt, or on turn 6 you can usually cast a tank, sometimes with a Vox operator in play. On 7 you can have a discounted Vox operator or a discounted tank and cast it then and get the activation off. Those are the turns you need to disrupt. And without game knowledge of the faction, you're just casting spells willy-nilly, and there's no really rhyme or reason for it. You may have used up your sabotage cards on the turns that it's not needed. Therefore, IG is going to get their game plan off and have more of a board than you're able to deal with. A lot of the troops in GSC are just innately underpowered. They're really weak on their own. They function extremely well together. I won't say no to that, but they're not well statted. Paying 3 for a troop that essentially is a 1/2 with 3 health is not really stat efficient. Look at IG with a 3 cost troop that's a 4/3 with 4 health. I mean, it's not like top of the line material.
So there's some things I definitely want to talk about on there.
Go ahead, just shoot.
Yeah. The main thing is that it feels like to me is that if you're GSC, all you need to do is roughly go stealth unit on 3, the icon ward on 4. This is energy wise, so 3 energy stealth unit, 4 energy the icon ward. I know it's a free drop, but you just play it on 4 anyway. You attack on that turn with both units. On 5 you play the 5 energy drop, and now you've got the 5 energy drop, which generates you 2 guys at reduced cost. And then on 6 you just go, I'm like, this is, don't get me wrong, completely ideal, but on 6 you go the 6 energy drop, and then you've got 2 of the 1 drops, two drops, which reduce cost by 1, so all those units cost 0, and now you've played very much on tempo. You've played a 3 energy, I guess not, a lackluster 4 energy play, but then a good tempo 5 energy play. And now you've also gone for a pretty decent combo on 6. It doesn't...
While that is ideal... Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
That is ideal. It's...
My problem with this argument is that you've only cast your talent one time, and the talent is the thing that you were claiming is the problem. You've only cast your talent one time. You've fit it nowhere else in except for turn 2. Or 2E turn, your first turn. And then you're casting Biophagus into Icon Ward, into a Metamorph Icon Bearer, into Metamorph turn. You've only used your talent once. Surely to God that you're not going to rip out of the 18 minions that are troops in your deck, you're not going to rip the ideal minion. It's still a 1 in 18 shot. I mean, I guess if you're running doubles, it's 1 in 9, but still.
If you could actually then I'll edit it into the video. The ideal Primus Safriiana deck, at least the version you're using. Because to my understanding, I wouldn't be running 18 troops in that style of deck. You are.
I'll actually just link you. I can do that while we're working. I'll give you these Zwaxis lists. This is what Zwaxis running. He's the premier GSC player.
I would want,
in my opinion,
10 or less.
Here is his list.
It's time I honor it.
And you can check. There is Perfect Ambush, Backstab, Clandestine Operation. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at a Clandestine Operation. Enhanced Resilience, that's 6 stratagems. Lying in Wait is 7. Rogue Informant makes 9. Bore Through makes 11. Some of the Cult 13. And then Telepathic Domination, so 14. You're running 16 troops. My bad. I thought it was 18.
Oh, wow.
Half of your deck is troops.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Neophyte.
Yeah, so what you got? You said 5. So, I think it's easier to count the troops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, yeah. 16 troops. Does feel like... I know I'm just gonna take Swoxy's deck and say, oh, this will look like you're making a mistake here. But
no, I mean, like, that's the deck.
That's the deck, yeah.
He's like, I'm gonna build it after this. Yeah.
I don't know if there's like other, stratagems and stuff like that he's put in as many stratagems as he could get away with.
Summon. I've had arguments against people running Summon the Cult. Some people don't like it. I don't like Rogue Informant. I don't run Rogue Informant in my list. He loves it though. I just assume he's played way more of it than I have. I just give him the benefit of doubt. He's a better player. Because all he plays is GSC.
Yeah, I mean, I would be running Rogue Informant if I could get away with it. Just getting those certain units you need with stealth, and then, for example, you could play a stealth unit and then Metamorph Leader combo off that. Now that stealth unit basically
a lot
gets
of these
the buffs
troops are kind of core.
Yeah,
a lot of these troops are core. Like, okay, so Neophyte Initiate's core, and then we looked down a list. Biophagus, yes. Metamorph Icon Bearer, yes. That makes more initiates. Your leader is a combo potential piece. Atalan Leader is a huge tempo play, and then you have like Icon Bearer, Metamorph Leader, Sanctus. I mean, or Sanctus or Reductus Saboteur. Those are like your key cards, but I mean, I guess you could fill the deck more with stratagems. I just haven't looked at it like that.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's my perspective. Is that I'd be wanting, because I'd be wanting to run between like 8 and 10, because you got like double Icon Ward, double Metamorph Icon Bearer, double Metamorph Leader. That's 6. Double Neophyte Initiate probably. And then you want to have some sort of free cost stealth unit. So double Biophagus here.
The Sanctus is really core for a lot of matchups. I feel I performed a lot worse without it than I did. I see some people run Reductus Saboteur or Sanctus. I would like to run both, but I don't have the Sanctus.
And then Genesteer Familiar, because they enable...
That's so core.
Yeah.
You need that so bad.
So maybe not
Enabling
Neophytes
flank
Initiates then, because that's still another trigger.
You would have to be generating them like all the time, though. You would have to make your Neophyte Icon Bearer turns really matter. A lot of times I tempo play Icon Bearer on 3 and just take 1 troop off of it. But I've seen people wait to get like 6 or 7 troops from it.
Yeah.
Where you have a board and then you would keep trading in your entire board and make more. Yeah, that's kind of oppressive.
Yeah. I mean, like...
We can start back whenever you want.
Oh, no, it's fine. I mean, including all of this, I don't see why not. But yeah, where was my major point is that I know I was talking about ideal sort of combo plays, but I guess my problem that, you know, if you get the ideal thing and it all works out and a game-winning combo play, you know, like bit like Asmodai, he gets that secrets, although I think Asmodai getting 3 secrets by 7 E would be less inconsistent than even this, even without any sort of card draw. Ideal play, you know, like causes massive problems and probably is game winning. The problem is that if you use that in, let's say, someone else's deck, not someone else's, but not Primus Safriiana. Let's say you're playing the epic warlord. It's not going to be
Malik or Magnus, rather. I don't know which one's epic.
No, and it's not Malik. It's Magus.
Magnus.
And it's not Magnus, because that's the Primarch, and they wouldn't double up on names like that. There would be anyway, Magus. It's not that he's not able to consistently do that. Let's say, you know, Primus Safriiana has to take 2 turns off to enable this sort of stage of events, right? Instead, so he's not the, you know, Primus Safriiana doesn't do it on 6 energy, it does it on 7 or 8. Most of the time, you're still going to be winning the game by that point. Anyway, if you get up a full combo and, you know, it really all pays off, sort of thing. I just think that Nova Warlord for the GSC faction can reliably pull off the same sort of combo to the same sort of power, where it ends up winning the game in sort of like a single turn. And yes, you did mention, I mean, like, hence this is my kind of point, is that if they do get the right cards in the right order, sort of thing, and they get that lucky, then I'm more alright with that, because I know that's just a 1 in 10 game, right? You got the 1 in 10.
Yeah.
That's fine. I'm gonna play another Primus Safriiana game, and then I'm not gonna worry about, you know, like the chances of that happening exact order in the same thing all over again. You know, it's probably not gonna happen, and so hence, but with such, you know, power level, with just all those neophytes, initiates, the pings, the buffs, everything on the full combo turn. Right now, as it stands, the tools needed to survive / also take out all these problematic units. It doesn't really matter if Primus Safriiana does it on exactly 6E. It can do it on a 7 or 8E, and you really still can't deal with it. Many factions of the game don't actually have solid solutions to able to deal with that sort of combo turn. So either it needs to, and I think just a few more turns of Primus Safriiana drawing these crucial troops to enable it, I think, in my opinion, means that it can get it, if you know what you're doing, you can get it reliably, the combo reliably off by 8 energy, if not early.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And so hence the end result is that either there needs to be plays which can be done by factions to stop said combos, really, really powerful combos, or so certain tools, so certain board clears, stuff like that, or it needs to be somehow, I don't know, counterspell, like, but I don't think that ever adds counterspell into this game. So
did you ever play Hearthstone?
No, I haven't played Hearthstone. Oh no, actually,
Okay,
that's a lie. I tested it. I could have done a YouTube video on this where I actually tested out Hearthstone. It was quite recent. It was like 6 months ago, maybe 3 months ago, something like that. I tested it out and I played it a bit, and I was like, no.
It's very troop-based combat. However, hear me out. I'm going to run a card idea by you and tell me how you would feel about this. In Hearthstone, they have what's called neutral card. And the neutral cards can be played by any fact.
Yeah.
You can put as many of them as you want in your deck. There is a card that is extremely well statted. It is a 2 energy, 2/6. Okay? 2 attack, both fronts, 6 HP on the backside.
Yeah.
But when it comes into play, takes a troop out of your opponent's hand and puts it into play.
Yeah. Okay.
At random. So it's called Dirty Rat, and it's used to be extremely effective at disrupting combo turns. You would play Dirty Rat on 3 or 4 and rip whatever you wanted to out of their hand that they were saving for the late game and kill it then or whenever you thought their turn might be, just disrupting their combo. Do you think that would be healthy as like an addition? Because right now all we have is like board clears. You're either casting Wavering Zeal or ferocity or monstrosities from, Space Wolves to clear the board. Do you think like a disruptive card like that might be helpful to stopping this?
Funnily enough, there is actually, I think this is only for one faction, and I think this faction is actually a lot better in a place to probably deal with a GSC combo, particularly if they give certain buffs to certain cards I'd like them to give to. But it's Orcs.
Is it Eldar?
No, it's Orcs.
Oh, Orcs. Go ahead.
Orcs have do have that 7 energy card where they can actually he gets to choose out of 3. So there's 3 cards in the hand. You get to choose one of them and it attacks it.
Oh, I was thinking of the Eldar card that pulled a card out of their hand and shuffled it back into their deck for a stone. I was thinking of that one.
Technically that card also does exist. I think it's 2 stones, so hence it doesn't get played.
Okay.
But the Orc one actually just straight up kills it, which I think is more important, typically against Primus Safriiana, because Primus could just draw it again. In theory, but the Orc card kills it for 7 energy. Now, if they, of course, the GSC managed to get their full combo, all the things on 6 energy, that 7 energy card can't disrupt the play. But in reverse, Orcs, that's, I would agree, probably to get it exactly on 6 energies and don't be that consistent. It's probably going to be very consistent by getting the combo off by 8 energy. So there's a good chance if you have that card in your hand, you can disrupt the Gene's the Occult combo. Because particularly as you get to choose, you can just... It chooses a problem because it's not like Magic the Gathering where where if you see someone's hand, you can pick anything out of the hand. Choose is, of course, limited to 3. That's wild,
isn't it?
Yeah. Choose is limited to 3, which is a real shame in a way. Because it means that it can't get that very specific thing, which can reduce the effectiveness of the disruption. But, excuse me. I quite like the card. I think it's really cool, and I think that with certain no mucking abouts to deal with the stealth units, because they actually have proper anti-stealth. With the Scorcher Assaults to be able to deal with these wide things, bomb squigs. You go through on a list. They're the one faction is the problem. They're one faction to actually properly able to deal with it. You mentioned Eldar, and my personal opinion is that Eldar have an actual board clear, which is Eldritch Storm, get 2 stones, that can reliably deal with the board, because it can deal with 3 health units majority of the time. It's going to deal with the 2 health units, and if you're lucky, you can deal with their 5 health units, which the 6 energy cost card is. Excuse me. The problem is that I think many factions in this game really don't have the survivability to deal with the initial pings part. If they manage to get a lot of pings, that can be, and then also to go along and then survive the next part, which is actually the full combo itself.
In the Emperor's name, I will
Excuse me, along with also, you know, all the stealth units. We're not going to get into stealth units right now, but because that's a whole nother kettle of fish to talk about. But I think for me, it's just other warlords can't consistently get that power of combo by energy that Primus can. And I think if my point of view is that either one or two things need to happen. Either the combo needs to be not as powerful, which would be nerfing the cards in the deck, or the reliability. And I would rather see the reliability actually go down in this case, rather than the power level. Because I think, my perspective is, I think actually GSC is a pretty cool faction, and I want them to be a more combo-based faction. Excuse me. But if we keep on going through the process, which is, I've seen this happen with GSC, if you keep on going through the process where you nerf the cards in the deck rather than the engines which enable it, and what ends up happening is you get to a stage where there's just nothing left for the GSC combos to exist. Excuse me, flipping it. And,
you alright there?
Yeah, well, I think I'm dying, but don't worry about it. Yeah, basically there ends up becoming, if you keep on nerfing the deck, there ends up becoming nothing left. And really, if we stop the enabler, which is the card, specifically the card draw for draw troop or draw stratagem, we deal with the enabler, then we end up dealing with the massive consistency of the deck, which will bring down the power. I think that's my point.
Well, I think Sappho was designed intentionally powerful. So when you look at like the meta report and glance over the top meta warlords, you have Afa, Ursula, Lucius, Gilliman, and as you go down the line, you start to realize that all these modal warlords, even Titus to a certain extent, are just innately powerful because you are given the freedom of choice, and choice allows you to adapt to a situation a lot better. The sad thing is that as we saw with maybe 2 patches ago when Space Wolves was at an absurd, Nigel Stormcaller had 69-70% win rate. We saw what happened with that faction, and they basically nerfed every single card except for Nigel.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid it might be going probably down that same path. I wouldn't care to see Sappho nerfed in some form or fashion, maybe even limiting the troops she could draw, such as rewording her talent to draw a troop from your deck with cost this or less, cost this or more. That way you can't draw specific cards with her, or even denominate it by rarity. I wouldn't care for that either. It's just, I think some change does need to be made, but probably the route they're going to go is by hitting the cards in the deck again. I think Icon or Metamorph Leader is probably going to be the main target for this.
I suspect so. I reckon we're going to see a patch by Monday. And that is what I like. I guess I don't want to see. Is that I kind of want to see that combo still be a thing, but just not be... You have to work more to actually get to it. That's what I want to see, is that there's a bit more there's a bit more back and forth. There's a bit more people trying to prevent Primus getting the key resources that she needs to be able to make the combo, and making some challenging things. A bit more opportunity for that. But then the power of the combo still be as powerful as it is. Maybe, dare I say, even more powerful, right? But maybe a bit more on the later energy sort of side of things. This is what ideally I want to see. I want to see a bit more of a back and forth. I want to see a bit more of an opportunity, because I mean, like, one of my main, it feels like the only real counter to Primus Safriiana Unless
It's to provide pressure.
yeah, it's just to
You have
provide
to
pressure.
provide pressure.
You have to.
Yeah.
You can't play a late game into her because she's gonna kill you with the combo. It kind of feels like what it feels like, unless you have very specific tools. Sorry. The only thing I can exactly think of is like maybe a Robute Gilliman deck with very specifically getting the scouts. Was it the scout bikers? There we go, the scout bikers.
Yeah.
Maybe you could have Vanguard on your warlord, scout bikers. That would be would counter the combo, and you're basically trying to do everything you possibly can to keep the scout biker. It feels like that is one way to deal with it. And I haven't exactly tested it, you know. I don't exactly just play GSC every single game, believe it or not, and get stomped by them all the time. Although it kind of does feel like it. But it I want to see that other end, and that's why I see the consistency of combo. I mean, like, we're only talking about one specific combo right now, but there have been others in the past.
Yes, the vehicles outrider deck. You will cast your talent on 2 and 3 usually, or sometimes 2 and 4. And on turn 5, you will cast roaming outriders into roaming outriders with a full hand of discounted vehicles. so because you only tutor stratagems in that deck. There's only 3 stratagems.
There's only 3 stratagems. Yeah, it's got the perfect ambush, which might receive enough. And
2 roaming outriders.
And then 2 roaming outriders. We did see that deck in the past. A lot more actually with roaming outriders, and this is when roaming outriders cost 4 energy. It was very, very strong. Let me put it like that. There wasn't really much one could do about it at all, in fact. And since because of the crazy consistency, as you said, turn 1, draw a stratagem, turn 2, you draw another stratagem, turn 3, well, you now have one of the roaming outriders in your hand, so you play it. Next turn, you don't have to play like a tempo troop or whatever, and then the turn afterwards, second roaming outriders combo. It became, of course, very difficult to deal with, and hence it got the nerf. Particularly with that sort of deck, the problem really wasn't roaming outriders costing 4 energy. The problem was Safa just being able to go, right, I am gonna draw roaming outriders into my hand, because, you know, certain new players might have 2 copies of roaming outriders, but not the perfect ambush card for the invulnerability. So they just put literally only 2 roaming outriders in hand. And I draw roaming outriders. When I get them both into hand, I'm gonna play them turn. Flipping heck. And then, you know, you just do the thing. And hence, roaming outriders, I think, was a my point of view, perfectly fine card at 4 energy. You needed a lot of vehicles in your deck, which not all of them were going to be good with the GSC faction. So the cost reduction were making those cards more just playable rather than effective for the cost value, to be frankly honest. You know, you weren't going to do too much stuff. The problem is when you're just going to go very consistently, and then it does become way too much stuff. And so hence, it was a real shame. My point of view is how they approached the balance nerf of it. Because at my point of view, at that point in time, Primus Safriiana's ability was the problem, not the roaming outriders.
She does enable a lot.
Yeah, and hence we're going on to like well, let's Icon Ward Malak does aggro, and I think does aggro better than Primus, and so hence I'm not going to debate that at all. What I am going to debate is that I feel like Magus, the epic warlord, feels like the more tempo based warlord for the GSC faction, and I feel like the sabotage, if we're gonna have a sabotage one, what's her name? Scenari?
Latka.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. But she feels like the Sabotage Warlord. But unfortunately, I see both Warlords, and as it stands, maybe you could argue both of those Warlords getting a buff rather than Primus Safriiana getting a nerf, which I can see. But as it stands right now, I struggle to see why I would play with one of those two Warlords, playing their playstyles, which is one's tempo, one's the Sabotage based. Like, by that point, why not just play Primus? Because on average, I think you're gonna have a better deck. Like,
I don't
literally just
disagree with you.
one switch.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you there. However, I do have a retort. In what case did Gilliman not do that to Varro? Because that's exactly what Gilliman did. Varro was an extremely consistent deck that was top of the meta for quite a while, and as soon as Gilliman's released, he's no longer played. It's just a better modal warlord.
No. I do have to disagree with that. How to explain this? So Gilliman on release, he was very much two things happened with that. First off, Varro's one of Varro's major tools, which is the 5 energy drop sniper person, Sergeant Talion. His codex ability got changed for the better. I totally agree with this, by the way. The change needed to happen because Varro Tigurius was abusing it massively. This was the codex refill 1 energy ability. If that still existed, Varro would be better. I am flat out confident in saying Varro would still be better than Rebute Gilliman because Varro could still consistently draw Avenging Zeal, and he would still have that combo potential, which still exists. So that's the first thing which happened, and it's why people stopped playing Varro, because suddenly one of its major tools just went away as soon as Gilliman came in, and then also Gilliman came in. And so hence, that's the first thing. The second thing was Rebute Gilliman and his specific ability very much, it's very much inconsistent because you have to draw Avenging Zeal, and there was no real way to draw it early. But if you did get it early, you know, he would just trigger Avenging Zeal himself, and then you would be playing with a 4-attack Warlord. You know, the opponent has a healing 4-attack Warlord every single turn versus you with only 2-attack. Like, it's not really fair at that point. And what he had to do for it was basically nothing if he gets it early. The problem is that the reverse from that was that if you got it late game, it was, you know, like, it wasn't really that effective. But if you got it early, it was clearly overpowered. And so hence they made a change, very understandably, which I'd more compare it to now, which is that, you know, I guess I'd say there was an unintended interaction with Rebute Gilliman that they fixed. And so hence I would now compare Varro Tigurius now to Rebute Gilliman, because Varro Tigurius had a broken 5NG card, which he abused with the refill 1, and his talent specifically being able to interact with that for a broken combo. Rebute Gilliman had a broken mechanic, which had an unintended consequence, which made a broken combo. So now I think that actually, like, I would need to test it again, because I haven't tested it recently, but Varro Tigurius, Rebute Gilliman, Titus are probably all the same power level with Calgar, actually. Maybe Titus is slightly more, and then Chaplain Varius, I think, is comfortably the strongest. That's my personal opinion. I know some people disagree, but
the meta report disagrees. But I here's the thing, though. I don't necessarily agree with the meta report either. So I think
don't trust that meta report. Flippin' heck, I saw that, and you can go to it right now. Chaplain of Varius has a 45.5% win rate.
Yeah, see, here's the thing, and I'm going to stress this. For anyone listening that trusts the meta report wholeheartedly, I'm sorry. It's not what you get. Yeah, so that may be the case, and that may be the actual stats for the vast majority of Legend players. But in the top 50, the win rates are so more skewed.
Yeah.
The people that play, yeah. So, for example, the top player in last season was nothing but GSC. 1,000 points of his 9,000 points were GSC. So please don't. I'm sure he piloted that Safa deck to like an 80% win rate.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't trust the meta report at all.
I'm 80%. I'm sure. I'd imagine he did it to higher. I imagine he did it to 90, maybe 95% win rate. Which wouldn't surprise me at all. I've probably got an 80 to 90% win rate with Chaplain of Avarius. I haven't been keeping track, but I'm confident in saying that. I've been playing it recently as well, and it is around about that percentage win rate. I would also say
we saw Ursula this season be at 60, and I have stats from 2 seasons ago on my channel where I can prove I had like above 70. I was like 75 on average.
Oh yeah.
So I don't trust them. I don't trust the meta.
I don't fully trust it either. For example, I see this 45.5% win rate, and I've played against a couple of Chaplain of Avarius decks, and I've beaten them, and I know exactly why, and it's because they're not running the most optimized version of Chaplain of Avarius, with all due respect. Maybe they don't have the cards, which is very understandable. Maybe they wanted to run something fun. Either way, it's not the most optimized Chaplain of Avarius deck.
Yeah.
But that's I guess might not really get off with this sidetrack sort of point of view. Back to Primus. I feel like that, I think there's nothing wrong with a strong warlord, but I do think there is a problem with one warlord dominating the rest of the warlords in a faction and making the other warlords redundant to the point where you can play this sort of same play style and you just go for the more powerful one, even though the play style is the same. Like, if we're to have warlords sort of playing play styles, their play style that they play has to be the best warlord for that play style. Otherwise, there becomes no point using that warlord for that play style. I guess it's my point of view. So with the Robute Guilliman Vara Tigurius, on release, I'm sure Robute Guilliman, it was the case where it made other warlords, it did make Vara Tigurius redundant. But I still think Vara Tigurius was where you fetch it out of your deck. The Avenging Zeal is still the best playstyle for that like sort of style of deck, and particularly now. Now that they've actually have nerfed Robute Guilliman and what he does.
I think he needs another nerf personally. Safa probably does too. And Ursula, just throw them all on the chopping block. Let's mix up the game a little.
Do you know what? I would take the hit. I would accept that hit. I would accept the hit. If we have to nerf Robute Guilliman to see Primus nerfed in some sort of way, fine. I would be happy with that.
I mean, he didn't have so he's only like 5% below on the meta report, but he does have an extremely high play rate.
Yes.
Almost 9%. That's a ton.
Which I will say, if you the 8.46% win rate, use rate, not win rate, that would be terrible. The 58.9% win rate, 5% below. Which what I will say is that if you're getting that high use rate with that win rate, that does show more of a corresponding trend, unlike, for example, Primus, where there's only 3%, still 3% compared to all the other warlords in the game, is actually pretty high.
It is. A lot of the main outliers also have 3%.
Yeah, but Robute Guilliman still has, despite the high usage rate, because you would imagine with a higher use rate, the win rate would go down, but despite the high usage rate, the win rate is still actually pretty high. So I can see some sort of nerf to the Ultramarine faction and Robute Guilliman as a whole, just to bring it slightly more in line. There's, that I could go along about quite a bit, but I think, what would you rather do, Jay? Would you want to buff, from your point of view, would you rather buff Magus and Scenari up, giving them bonus abilities to sort of like their identity, let's say? Or do you think Primus Safriiana's ability is just too strong to the point where, you know, to buff those other two warlords, you'd have to be buffing them with ridiculous sort of abilities and things which wouldn't be healthy for the game? What would you rather do? See them buffed or Primus nerfed?
I want to see Primus Safriiana's two talents combined into one. I want to have it draw a card. I don't want it to tutor personally. I think the tutoring aspect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that tutoring aspect allows for some unhealthy play patterns. As much as I regretfully say that, it feels nice gaining the win rate, but it can feel kind of oppressive at times. Yeah, I think it would be absolutely fair and balanced if you changed it to just draw a card, as if Logan, as many other warlords, have draw a card on their talent. I think changing it to draw a card would fix all the problems.
And hindsight, I'm more than happy. I would be more than happy with that, for example, and then give her like a third ability, because I would. I've mentioned
give her heal back. That she needs a heal on herself.
The healing can go back. I'm perfectly happy with that. I'd be also happy with what is it? Then for her to get a 2 energy ability to trigger a random ambush effect, like a not random ambush effect, but you know, you have an ambush troop on a board and you trigger a random troop's ambush. That's it. And so hence, as to keep that modality ability still in place, so she still has 3 options. You know, she can still go for like, you know, she can still go for the my point with that is it opens up a new interesting playstyle, because it now opens up as more ambush sort of playstyle, which I don't think we really have a deck. I'd quite like to see that. And so hence that's to compensate, and it might make her stronger, but at least be more interesting, I would say, than just I fetch the things I need.
It would still probably be the dominant warlord, though.
It still might be, and then I'd say fine, maybe buff up the other warlords, but it does mean that it first off, it opens up more of an interesting playstyle to stuff which we don't typically see. We don't really see an ambush GSE deck, which I think is a real shame. So that's one thing. Excuse me. The second thing I would say, with even if she's the most dominant, it means that it does also mean that, you know, you're not losing because she tutored out the exact things she needs and then comboed off into your death. It's because she just happened to draw into it, and the consistency of that combo suddenly goes down, so it becomes she would now have to work to the combo a bit more. Like, she still might be the best, but it's going to be shown that it should actually now have a couple more turns. There's going to be a couple more turns the opponent's able to interact with Primus Safriiana and trying to get rid of the key resources cards and stuff. And it'd be far more interesting, is my point of view. And yeah, I mean, like, there certainly is buffs. I was thinking about it, how would I buff actually the 2 other warlords? And I still think even with just draw a card, or you could make it so that she draws just stratagems and not troops. That is a option, which I did mention. I think I did a video a really long while back, and I did mention that as like either make it just troops or just stratagems, and then hence you don't have that just multi-layered sort of ability to draw everything she wants all the time. And so hence I would certainly find this far more just far more interesting, and then maybe give something Magus to an ability where it has the ability to generate troops, and then that gets supported. It's along with I was thinking, I think people mentioned that Scenari it should be the ambush warlord. That there's, I want to see, funny enough, I don't want to see ambush be a playstyle for GSC. But you could make it Scenari gets the snipe, and Scenari used to have +1 range attack, and that's what made her really impressive back in the day, because she was like snipe, +1 range attack, free removal, and then the Slay ability to put sabotage in opponent's hand. They removed the +1 range attack, so that wasn't, the free removal wasn't nearly as reliable. Hence, hence I would like to see a change where she gets the +1 range attack like she used to back in the day, but she triggers an ambush of a friendly troop, random friendly troop, instead of just putting sabotages in the opponent's hand. And then I think we have so much more interesting sort of plays and stuff that she has to do to calculate, but it makes the deck far more better, because now she can trigger things which you play from hand straight away, where you wouldn't normally be able to get that. And so
it's a really scary concept, because a lot of the ambush troops are generally understated until they have an ambush trigger, and their ambush trigger makes them almost overvalued. You're getting more energy than you're putting into the troop. I would honestly be kind of scared to see. Yeah, I would be scared to see her trigger ambush as soon as I'll just play an ambush troop and I'll trigger it. It's almost terrifying to me, knowing some of the powerful cards.
The thing is,
like Patriarch on buffing your entire board.
Potentially Patriarch could use like a slight nerf so that it's not quite the same. Maybe like increase in cost. Maybe it only gives the board +2/+2 instead of +3/+3. I actually think everything else would be fine. And my reasoning for this is that you still have to play the troop. Let's say you have 4 energy. You have to play a 2 energy ambush troop, and then play Scenari's ability, and then you have to have a valid target which is going to die.
I know how to nerf Patriarch. Strike trigger voice lines again.
What? Strike
trigger voice lines again. I absolutely hate hearing about Safa preach about the Star Children or whatever. I can't stand it. I mute it every time I play.
All right, yeah.
That's my joke nerf, sorry.
Yeah, no. But I think basically my point is, if she triggered ambush effects, this is Scenari, I think it would be fine, because you have to play the troop for its cost and have 2 energy left over to play the hero power, to then also able to kill an opponent's troop to trigger that ambush effect. If you're going through that process to able to trigger it, I think it's fine by that point to trigger a random troop's ambush effect.
It is a lot of hoops to jump through.
Yeah, and I think with that, all those restrictions, I think would be fine. If truly, I'm not saying this is the done deal with GSC, but if truly Patriarch is becoming too much of a problem by that point, maybe a slight nerf to Patriarch to put it more in line. We still want it to be a legendary, still want it to be good, right? We want it to be an impactful card, but we don't want it to be oppressive and broken. So hence maybe something else to bring it more in line. But that's just like one example of a deck, and it's hard to say which exact warlord you'd use that with, but I struggle to see with like that style of deck why I wouldn't right now not use Safa. Like, you get the card draws you need. If you want to have the give flank to a troop to trigger its ambush effect, you can just draw those things. If you want to get the right troops because you want to be triggering certain troops' ambush effects, you have that ability. It makes a game plan of an ambush triggering far more reliable and far more consistent. Hence I'm there kind of going, right now at least, why would I run an evil warlord?
If you're opting for meta efficiency, you wouldn't. That's the case.
Right now, yeah. Like, but yeah. I for example, I know are in a very, very, very nice place, to be frankly honest. But if I want to go for a go wide sort of style, my best decks are Chaplain of Varius, Calgar, maybe Titus, because he does have a buff ability for go wide, but really it's between Calgar and Chaplain of Varus, and I think right now Chaplain of Varus, with all the durable troops that can have, / stealth troops, Chaplain of Varus ends up taking the cake. If I want to go for gym boss style, where it's quite clear, I use Titus, and so hence I go for that. If I want to be going for some sort of like combo sort of play or going for Avenging Zeal, I go Vira Tigurius. If I want to go for control, Rubuta Gilliman's the best. If I want to go for generic all-round tempo play, it probably is Calgar by that point. So there's a lot of warlords, but none of the warlords feel redundant. They feel like they all have the place. The most redundant thing right now feels like the Uriel Ventress and the Jump Pack guy kind of feels like they're fighting for the same spot, doing the sort of same thing. But that's because have a problem where they've got too many warlords, arguably, and so hence I can understand why they're struggling to create identity between the two. But outside of that, every single warlord feels like they have a place, and none of them are redundant. I cannot say this for the GSC faction. It feels like you got Icon Ward Malek for his aggro, and then you got Primus Safriiana.
No, I do agree. I think the other two warlords are really underpowered. Magus and Laska, I think they're not too integrated of a spot. I will note that IG has the exact same problem. If you're wanting to play IG to the best of your ability, you will play Ursula. Report reflects that. Other than that, she out tempos Dankler. The additional shock troop, it's just better than Lord 3, as I call him, Leonidas. I think it's better than that. And I think that there is a specific place for Hector, but I don't know where it is right now. He's a little bit more aggro than Ursula, but he doesn't quite have the flexibility of Ursula. I think Ursula's just easier to play. So I think IG's going through the same crisis.
I think that's why I do slightly disagree with that. I'm not going to argue with Lord Solar. I think he is redundant, unfortunately. Where Ursula is just an outplayer. Whatever he tries to do, you are probably just better off with Ursula. But I think Dankler does have a couple of very specific playstyles which Ursula cannot actually do. The first one is the siege warfare, where it's you have because it's all based on duty ability, and Ursula can't reliably guarantee these duty abilities going off, where you draw the siege warfare at reduced cost, and then you play these two big vehicles. Maybe that could use a bit of a buff to see more of that playstyle / identity see interplay, which I wouldn't be against, to be frankly honest. But I don't think Ursula can nearly do that reliably as Dankler can. The other thing Dankler can do is go for like a stratagem sort of combo play, where you are very specifically looking for the energy legendary card for the Imperial Guard have. You get that, you activate its use ability, every single stratagem now costs 4 less. And now you can play a whole bunch of stratagems, the Imperial Guard, in a single turn. Hence, these playstyles, I will admit, aren't as powerful as the Ursula Creed playstyle. But I don't think I can go along and say, I just use Ursula Creed in that deck, in those decks, and I'm like, yeah, Ursula Creed is just better. I think legitimately at those playstyles, at those specific decks, even though they are weaker, you're still wanting to use not Hector Femin, Dankler. You would still rather use Dankler to achieve that playstyle.
Mm-hmm. It does have a unique identity. I don't know. I look at this and when in my perspective at least, when I see this thing, I feel like anything you could be accomplishing with Dankler just can be outdone. Yes, it does have a unique playstyle. Yes, it is different. But I mean, it's the same argument. Why would you play Laska when you can just play Safa Sabotage? Why would you play Dankler Vehicles when you could just play Ursula Midrange? I feel like those decks do have unique identities. I'm sure Magus has a unique identity too that I'm yet to discover, but I've just not played that list.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Is that I think Denkler at that unique identity is better than Ursula at that very specific unique identity. I'm not saying Ursula as a whole. Ursula as a whole with her best decks outperforms Denkler. Like,
yeah,
Ursula is like an A tier warlord, and Denkler is a B tier warlord doing his Denkler thingy. But at least at the exact same deck, in the exact same, if Ursula Creed went for Siege Warfare, and then Denkler went for Siege Warfare, I would rate Denkler as a Siege Warfare warlord better over Ursula. However,
yeah, for sure.
Flip side, let's say we go for just tempo Magus. I struggle to see why Primus wouldn't just be better than not Magnus, Magus. Yeah, I don't see why Primus wouldn't be better than Magus at just a tempo GSE. Not that that particularly exists, but
yeah, I mean, probably Magus would struggle there, and I think that's more dependent on that warlord. You can play Malik tempo though, and I don't know if you've ever played the Malik versus Safa matchup.
No,
Malik bodies her. It's not good at all.
But
like bodies
isn't
her.
that aggro?
It's more tempo.
Okay.
Your 3E turn is basically your 2E turns your talent turn. You want to be playing a troop on 3, Nexus Nexus on 4.
Yeah.
You're kind of just curving out.
Yeah.
Basically.
Well,
it's the same way Varro Codex was. You're just curving out.
You are, but you're punching face all the time. You're using your troops to punch face. You're buffing up the attack of your warlord to then punch face with your warlord. Like, you're constantly doing aggro damage.
Yeah.
Hence, I saw it more.
I guess
a tempo aggro deck. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, like, because of course you could have an aggro burn deck, which is where you're burning them with stratagems, right? Hence. But
it's not tempo in the same way that like Galen is tempo. It's a little bit different.
No, it is a little bit different. I'll give you that because Galen wants to buff up the board.
Yeah, she wants a board state.
Yeah.
Wants a board state. I view Malik more as if you took like old Varro and removed the Teleon combo, I think it kind of looks like that. You're just playing your 2-drop into Primaris Interceptor, into Chaplain, into 5-cost tank. You're looking at that kind of curve. It feels about the same. Into Angels of Death, you're just wanting to hit your curve and push as much of your ability as you can. The same way Malik is trying to push his he's activating his ability to activate Nexus's Artifice and push damage that way.
I don't want to go too along that point, but I don't think Varro was quite that. I'd say that's probably more Calgar and how he would play, and that's
okay. Well, I feel it's like that.
Yeah. But I think I get what you're saying. Is that you want to just play things on curve. You want to just maybe use your hero power on turn 1, play things on curve, punch him in the face, try to get damage where you can, and win. Sort of.
You don't want the game to go beyond like 8 or 9E.
No,
you want to end the game by 8.
That's Calgar. Varro is similar in a sense, but he has like a sort of a big sort of go turns, and he has these certain go turns where he's got the tactical insights where you're gonna get the cost reduction on the Avenging Zeal really far down, and then you get a sort of like a big sort of buff afterwards for doing that. It's particularly based around the go turns because you got able to use your tactical insights right. So there's the difference there, but like,
I don't think Saf is particularly broken. I think she's on the cusp of being broken. Yes, I think she's extremely strong, and it may prevent other warlords from being played, but I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility. This isn't like, when I think of a toxic, unhealthy playstyle to the point of where I want to nerf a warlord, I just imagine Space Wolf's release and think of how oppressive Stormcaller was. 70% was the meta report when Stormcaller was released. Something like 8% pick rate, the same as Gilliman now, with a 70% win rate. I felt that was oppressive. I would like to see a change, but I would really hit the troop.
I would agree with you. That was more oppressive during that time than Primus. Not ever was. I'm not gonna say ever was, but certainly more. Space Wars were the problem back then. Primus wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, but do you agree? Because we're not trying to. I'm not trying to talk about power level here. I'm trying to avoid that sort of discussion. My point is more, do you think a design change for Primus Safriiana would actually be a good thing for the GSC faction as a whole to enable more interesting sort of play styles? And this is the thing, is that I think with Primus getting a nerf, I can see GSC getting a buff to their certain cards to enable more playstyles. This is what I guess what I wanted to talk about, focus on more. Do you think that should be the case, or do you not?
Yes and no. As far as like nerfing Safa goes, I don't know what more you could do to hurt her that would not basically take her off the grid.
I see. Yeah.
I think so. Like the decks in question here are, because I don't think Safa Sabotage is extremely strong. I think it's like maybe B tier plus in my opinion. There is a Safa Sabotage deck. There's a Safa Vehicles deck, and there is a Uprising combo deck. In my opinion, those are the three Safa decks that kind of, it does dominate all of GSC. It's, if you're playing GSC 80% of the time, you're playing Safa. If you're not playing Safa, you're 15% of the time playing Malik and 5% whatever else.
Sure.
I think it would be healthy to see her changed in some way, but I don't know how you could do it without hurting her entirely and just taking her off the grid.
I think you kind of mentioned it. Kind of like it's definitely the card draw. You kind of mentioned it where you scoop both abilities into just generic card draw, and maybe you give the other two warlords a bit of buff. Because I mean, like, the reason why I think this is, like, I know that Magus back in the day was actually a more powerful warlord, or at least had a better win rate, which, you know, you can debate. But this was when GSC were released. Magus, basically, his ability used to, when you played it, you were able to generate legendaries, which you can't do now. And also it used to make it cost one less. And so that was Magus's ability on release, and everybody basically played Magus and that warlord, which was, to be frankly honest, too strong for the time at least. Maybe it would be fine now because the power level of the game, I think, has gone up, in my opinion. So maybe it would be more in line now to where we are seeing it. It might still be too strong. I don't know yet. But Magus did have that ability, but it wasn't doing anything particularly interesting, unfortunately. It was just playing things for too cheap, basically, because of the cost reduction. And so hence I don't really want to buff Magus, is like kind of my point with that. And Scenari used to have +1 range attack in the day, but they had to nerf her to make her to make her sabotage sort of stuff not be completely oppressive and the opponent literally not being able to play the game. And so hence they had to do all that, and then Primus is instead of nerfing Primus's innate card draw ability, they've had to nerf the GSC faction and what their capabilities can do. And so it does feel like I can understand as if someone dedicates themselves to GSC, it kind of feels like you're being squeezed into a box, and the last thing you've got left is Primus's ability to draw a troop or stratagem, has that flexible, modable ability. And if that goes, like, what do GSC have left? And I completely understand that. But at the same time, I think it's gonna have to be, my point of view is there is a necessary evil to like remove one of those effects or make it a generic draw a card effect, so that then we can buff the GSC faction as a whole to then make it just so much more of an interesting faction. It feels like that one, you know how sometimes there's like in a card game, there's just that one problematic card, and if that card didn't exist, like this faction or whatever, would it open up so much in like sort of deck diversity / builds. But since because that one card exists, and hence that's why there's a ban list, right? Like in certain card games, like they have a ban list for this reason, because there's one card which is doing too much, and it's preventing other things from seeing play. Kind of feels like the same thing in my point of view, and so hence I don't want to take. I completely understand when you say that, like, nerfing it feels like, in any sort of capacity, feels like it's too much. Like, they've already removed the healing, for example, and that is, I mean, like, that way back when from Primus, but of course that wasn't really the problem. The healing wasn't really doing that much. It was only a minor amount, that, you know, like later on. But if we remove this sort of problem, then the GSC faction does feel like it could be with buffs, granted, with buffs.
If you did remove her ability, it would give GSC as a potential a lot more room to grow.
Yeah.
It would. You could make new design aspects which could allow for other playstyles. However, with that being said, I don't think her being at the top is a problem. People will gravitate towards the dominant warlord always.
Yes, I do agree with that.
That's the meta of net decking. We live in an era where people come into chat and they ask, "Does anyone have this deck?" And they're gonna look for whatever they want to play.
Yeah.
And they're gonna gravitate to what plays more and wins more, because winning is fun. That's just how it works.
It is. Yeah, I don't disagree.
Yeah, I think people are always going to gravitate towards what is the best. And right now, Safa is the best. Inevitably, she probably will receive a nerf of some sort, or the faction will receive a nerf, and people will probably gravitate towards something else. We'll probably complain about that one too.
Yeah,
so.
I would hate to see the faction get a nerf. I that would really, I mean, like, I wouldn't be surprised at all. But I think that would be, for me at least, very disappointing, because I mean, like, like these archetypes as playstyles, it always just felt like there was one or two things going on which were the actual problem, which in theory just dealt with, and then the faction as a whole wouldn't be too strong. And it just feels like one of those, to me, it feels like one of those things where it's just that one thing is just enabling it all. And if it not went away, but was dealt with, it then wouldn't be like the menace that it is, and, you know, are very unfun or whatever. And I see this time again, where I see this one problem and it doesn't get dealt with for ages, and then it eventually gets dealt with, and then you have a dead faction, which is, I do fear has been the case for GSC, unfortunately, with just because it's such a flexible hero power.
Doesn't this feel a lot like the Space Wolf situation, where they're going to nerf every single card except for the one that's the main problem?
Which is Nigel Stormcaller, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like if they would have just nerfed Nigel and reduced some of the modality or reduced some of the cost reduction, I feel like the whole faction could be a lot stronger.
It's not the modality, it's the cost reduction. The cost reduction on Nigel is the problem. I'd say that with raid tactics, I think raid tactics is still too much, even at 4. Unless this is the thing, they could always add armor to every single warlord and make the armor cost less around on average. That is one option they can do, but I don't see that happening, considering that not every single faction has armor to put on their warlord, and the factions which do, typically their ability to put armor has only gone up in cost over time, not down. So Nigel raid tactics, I think it's too much.
It just feels a lot like the same situation. I think if they would just nerf Safa, it would probably help the faction as a whole. But the way that EG processes things, and from what I've seen during my play experience at least, I think they're going to nerf every card around it. I think the target card that's going to get hit, if there is to be a patch with Safa, will be Metamorph Leader. I think that card would get played if it was a 1/1/1 at 7 or 8E even. I think it could be played as a 1/1/1.
Which is kind of,
it's just
it enables the combo, doesn't it?
It enables the combo. It's just that strong.
Yeah, and it buffs the entire board, which is the key part.
Yep.
And it's why they don't just use... there is actually a 7 energy card GSC have, which makes all troops in the end cost
everything.
Less.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're saying they would rather play that 8 energy card, which only make things cost 1 less because of the uprising triggers. I guess you could remove the uprising trigger of +1 melee attack across the board.
But what would you give it instead? It would just be a troop at that point, just with cost reduction. Would you leave it at that?
That's what... Well, I wouldn't, but I think that's what EG might do. It wouldn't surprise me. And it's going to be a real shame by that point, because it feels like there were more combos back in the day, I swear, that GSE did have, which got nerfed. Because it was too reliable, too consistent, and they would just kill the opponent. And this kind of feels like the last one left, if you see what I'm saying. Like, this is the last combo that GSE have left. And it was just kind of like, yeah, but if we actually just dealt with the card draw, you know, these combos could still all exist. Like, all these combos which did exist could still exist, and there wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah. I see your point. I agree with your statement. I know
it might be too late now. Yeah.
I just don't see it happening, sadly.
Unfortunately, I learned this a year ago. I think I still don't think it's actually going to happen. Even at this point, right? And a year ago I had a feeling it wouldn't happen because I couldn't really give a suitable solution at the time to make it feel the same, but not as a sort of oppressive / consistent. But I knew, like, a year ago when I made a video on this, I did recommend making this solution because I guess what, I'm a prophet. It turns out the things which I said have come true. Oh dear. I'm not actually a prophet, by the way. Please don't take that. It was just a prediction.
Flip it.
Don't clip it. Oh dear. Yeah. Thank you. I think we've come to somewhat of a conclusion here. Would you agree?
Yeah. I'll list out the statements I had. Well, I think it's fine in the comments. I think I would like to see a change to Safa, indeed. If not, please hit the Metamorph Leader in some way. The deck is innately strong, and I would like to see a change in the meta overall.
Yeah. Just to compensate, I think Rubute Gilliman could use something, along with Chaplain Varus, actually, with his 45% win rate, but whatever. Maybe not him himself, maybe the Victrix Honor Guard, which is causing the problem. I don't know. But yes, thank you for coming on, Jay. I really appreciate it. This was a good chat. Thank you.
Yeah, I liked it.
Right. I'll see you all next time. Bye.
See ya.